when you're in one that does have less money or less funding, or you are less privileged, that's where we should be giving them more.
A study presented to the Utah legislature finds that some schools are not getting the money they need.
He's kind of exploring the cultural heritage of LDS culture through the lens of food.
An art exhibit showcases favorite Latter-day Saint foods that most visitors will instantly recognize.
Probability is strong that it is Brian's remains.
Human remains found in a Florida nature reserve are believed to be Brian Laundrie's. Welcome to Universe Live. It's Thursday, October 21st. I'm Catherine Bennett.
And I'm Ali O'Rulian.
Breaking news. In Provo, a car has crashed into a 7-Eleven in Provo.
The car ran right into the front of the store where the cashier's desk sits. Take a look at this video. You can see from this video and photos, the front of the store was destroyed. The accident happened just about an hour ago around 11 a.m. at the corner of 500 North and University Avenue. Police say no one in the car or the store was injured in the crash. We do not yet know what caused the driver to accelerate into the store. No word yet on the cost to repair the damage to the convenience store or car, or how this will affect business at the 7-Eleven. It could be the end for the search for Brian Laundrie. The FBI says human remains were found in a nature reserve along with personal items belonging to Laundrie.
But as they wait to officially identify those remains, questions linger about his possible involvement in the death of his fiancée, Gabby Petito. Daryl Forges reports.
37 days after Brian Laundrie was reportedly last seen, human remains were found in a Florida park.
Probability is strong that it is Brian's remains.
A source close to the investigation says it may take some time to officially identify the remains based on their condition.
These items were found in an area that up until recently have been underwater.
The grim discovery made on the day Laundrie's parents were assisting in the search for their son. According to the family's attorney, Laundrie's father also stumbled upon some of his son's personal items.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag. The dry bag is a white bag, is laying in the woods, I'll say 20 feet or so off the trail. At that time, law enforcement officers showed him a picture on the phone of a backpack that law enforcement had located also nearby.
Brian Laundrie is considered a person of interest in the death of his fiancée, Gabby Petito. Laundrie refused to talk to law enforcement when Petito's parents reported her missing. Then days later, he also disappeared. His parents gave investigators tips on where Brian liked to hike and camp in the extensive Carlton Reserve, but have otherwise been silent on the advice of their attorney.
Now's not the right time to talk about, the situation with Gabby. Right now, we're going to wait for the forensic results to come in, and, we may revisit this in the future.
In Northport, Florida, I'm Daryl Forges.
Conserve Utah Valley wants to make Bridalveil Falls a state monument, and they are asking for public support and input. On Saturday, they are holding the last in-person engagement session where they will answer questions and listen to suggestions from people who frequent the falls. The session will be held at the edge of the parking lot of Bridalveil Falls from 2 to 4 p.m. You can also submit your feedback online until October 25th by filling out the survey found at conserveutahvalley.org.
Tomorrow is your last day to register to vote for the Provo municipal election. Ballots were mailed to Provo residents last week. The general election will be held November 2nd, but you can return your ballot anytime before then. The election includes races for mayor and city council members. Register to vote today at vote.utah.gov.
Governor Cox just released an updated list of priorities, including funding disparities between school districts. Joe Belknap is live at Provost Elementary School to investigate why this is a priority for the governor. Joe.
That's right, Ali. According to a recent study, schools like Provost Elementary aren't receiving enough funding for their needs.
In an average Provost classroom, over half of the kids are economically disadvantaged.
But when you're in one that does have less money or less funding, or you are less privileged, that's where we should be giving them more.
Earlier this year, this study was presented to the legislature.
It suggests the additional research needs are for students who are in particular economically disadvantaged.
Governor Cox says that there are two major reasons why inequity still exists.
The reason it's difficult is that when you start to mess with those valuations, then you have you have winners and losers.
Property taxes are one of the funding sources for school districts, but property values vary widely from district to district.
The place that needs the most money, they have higher taxes, but they're getting less for that. And the places that don't need the money, they have lower taxes and they're getting all that they need from that.
The second reason?
It's just very complicated. School financing is incredibly complex.
I asked one of the smart people who worked on the study to explain it to me like I'm a third grader.
I think it is probably a concept a third grader would not quite have all the tools for.
But what's the solution?
But to use new funding streams as they come available disproportionately to help those schools that are behind.
While there are opportunities for improvement, the study found that
the system in Utah within the minimum school program is foundationally strong.
What does more funding accomplish for a school like Provost?
Retaining the best teachers and recruiting them to the education field could have the best outcome. With that, more money for teachers, I think, would help.
Governor Cox is hoping that solutions will be presented to the legislature by February. Reporting live for Universe Live, I'm Joe Belknap. Back to you, Ali.
Thanks, Joe.
Utah ranks above the national average for the quality of the community's relationship with students. American Addiction Center reports how each state's community rates their relationship with local college students, with a score of 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. Utah scored a 7, which is above the national average of 6. AAC has also reported that over half of national survey respondents have had bad experiences with drunk college students in the past. Of course, with BYU's stone-cold sober streak, the university is not likely contributing much to that statistic.
The Hogle Zoo's oldest tiger dies after surpassing her life expectancy. Veterinary staff and zoo management made the difficult decision to euthanize 18-and-a-half-year-old Sila yesterday due to her rapidly declining health. Sila was a favorite among zookeepers and was given extra attention in her old age care. The zoo says they will miss Sila's typical calls and vocalizations and reports a tiger-sized hole in their hearts.
Utah Museum of Contemporary Art hosts an exhibit called Marrow, featuring photographs of multiple common foods of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Universe Live reporter Brittany Sam is at the Art Museum in Salt Lake to tell us more.
Daniel George's exhibit called Marrow features photos that look into common Latter-day Saint dishes throughout the state of Utah.
He's kind of exploring the cultural heritage of LDS culture through the lens of food and specifically photographing that food.
George recreates and photographs dishes from word cookbooks showing food as folk art.
I do get a lot less questions about that exhibit than most of our other shows going on.
Because the audience is mostly from Utah, the visitors of the museum are pretty familiar with the photos and the exhibit overall. But not all the visitors are from Utah.
No. We just were walking by and saw it. And we are people who like art.
A couple of out-of-state visitors walking by in between sessions of their conference in downtown Salt Lake saw the museum and decided to check it out.
It looks like Baptist potluck dinner day.
Visitor Deb Levitov is a Baptist from Lincoln, Nebraska, who saw lots of familiar dishes used during their monthly potluck dinners.
When we saw the pictures, it said funeral potatoes. It made us laugh because we never heard it called that before.
Many of these stereotypical recipes capture the values, cultures, and traditions of those living in the western United States, sometimes known as the Mormon Corridor or the Jello Belt.
Everything looked pretty familiar, so it was kind of a fun exhibit to walk around and look at.
Daniel George's art exhibit closes on October 23rd, so make sure to head on over and check out his photos before then. Reporting for Universe Live in Salt Lake, I'm Brittany Sam.
Thanks, Brittany. I think we definitely recognize many of those foods. My favorite is probably funeral potatoes. Nothing beats that.
Yeah, mine's probably the Jello. The Utah Jazz is continuing their jazz scholarship program for the 2021 to 22 season.
You're lying.
No, I promise you, I wouldn't.
How often these scholarships will be given out and who can qualify for them?
Intramurals are back and soccer seems to be students' favorite choice. Men's cross country is kicking the season. Find out more on their third Athlete of the Year award.
You've probably watched Squid Game, or listened to the boy band BTS, or even used Korean skincare. And if you haven't, you probably know someone who has.
I know I have. It's called the Korean Wave, and reporter Harley Hunsaker dives deep into what it is and its impact on America. Harley?
In recent years, there's been an increase in Korean culture popularity across the globe. Whether it's K-pop or K-drama, people love it. But you don't just have to be in Korea to access this culture. In fact, you can access it right through these stores.
These BYU students are dancing, clapping, and even DJing. All to the sounds of Korean pop music at a K-pop party thrown by the BYU Korean Student Association. And club leader Vivian Lee explains why.
Because in Utah, we are a minority, and it's not really common to bring minorities together.
Lee organized a K-pop Halloween-themed dance party to share her culture with others. But the sharing of Korean culture is becoming increasingly easy due to the Korean Wave.
It's a machine. It's a huge machine.
Dr. Richard McBride is chair of Asian and Near Eastern languages at BYU. He teaches a variety of classes, including Korean culture. He explains the 3 Korean waves.
With Korean food and Korean music and Korean film and Korean dramas. And kind of the first stage was those things.
McBride says how in the late 1990s, Korean banks failed due to bad loans and they needed to rebrand themselves. First, the rise of Samsung. And since then, the rise of Korean film, television, video games, and especially music. Earlier this year, the Asian Scotland Institute reports BTS has gained the South Korean economy $4.9 billion. It seems like all fun and games, but McBride asks an interesting question.
We live in a global world, but when you globalize too much, what do you sacrifice in the process?
What do you sacrifice in the process, and should we be worried? Lee doesn't think so.
It makes me very proud of my country.
So for now, sit back and watch the Korean Wave crash down into your life. Reporting for Universe Live at Brigham Young University, I'm Harley Hunsaker.
The Utah Jazz give out more than 100 scholarships to college students.
This scholarship has been life-changing for me.
The Jazz Scholarship is awarded to those in need, and preference is given to any first-generation college students. For their first 30 wins last season, Jazz players were able to surprise 30 students with a full scholarship. This scholarship covers tuition, books, housing, and any other fees from the school. And the team plans on doing the same thing this season by giving out 4 full scholarships for each win. So here's to another season full of victories for the Jazz.
BYU men's cross-country runner Connor Mant is named NCAA Division I National Men's Co-Athlete of the Week. Mans won the award after finishing first with a course record in the men's AK at the FSU Imbibe Pre-Nationals in October 15. This is his 3rd recognition as National Athlete of the Week. Mans and the Cougars will compete for their 7th consecutive West Coast Conference Championship in Concord, California on Friday, October 29th. Intramural events are in full swing for the semester, and soccer is one of the most popular activities offered. Universe Live reporter Isabel Brown spoke with players and spectators.
Collegiate intramural sports have allowed BYU students to compete against one another in their favorite sports since the early 1900s. There are currently more than 50 annual intramural activities for students to choose from, including co-ed soccer, one of the most popular options.
Half the people on my team were roommates or are currently roommates, and then the rest are just friends of those roommates.
The intramural office encourages students to establish lifelong habits that encourage a healthier and happier life.
I think my favorite thing is just getting exercise every week, just being able to run around and relive the glory days of soccer.
Carl G. Mazer said that play and recreation are more than mere diversions. They are recuperative requisites in the process of physical, intellectual, and moral development.
If I were still a BYU student, yes, 100%. I would probably already be doing this. Yeah, it seems really fun.
With the pressure of midterms in full swing and preparations around the corner, many students have to decide what to prioritize.
I think my least favorite thing is, I don't know, I feel like we never have enough players. We're always like down a person.
As the winter weather moves in, students are grateful for the opportunity to use the indoor practice facilities that BYU offers.
It was fun that they played in here. Usually they play outside, on the field, but I think there's a band thing going on, so it was really cool to be in here.
Despite these challenges, intramurals have allowed students and friends to gather and enjoy good soccer.
There's really good soccer players here that it's fun to watch them all. Like, they probably all played in high school, but now they're really good and they still play.
Thanks for joining us.
Have a great day.